We have a shortage of technicians, and if they're working for some company that's not treating them right, not that I would ever advocate people hopping around. That's not what I'm trying to say. But if you work for a company that is not paying you well, does not have any kind of benefits, and that doesn't care about you as a person, there are places out there now, they exist.
Welcome to The Boost, a podcast for home service contractors. We explore leaders and innovators in home services, their personal journeys, thoughts, and experiences with growth, marketing, and succession. We cover the good, the bad, the ugly, and its ultimate impact. Hey everybody, thanks for being here. Welcome to another episode of The Boost. I'm Zach Wilson, Chief Marketing Officer of Local. Today we have Gil Cavey, General Manager of Beltway Air Conditioning and Heating. Gil is also the very popular host of one of the industry's biggest podcasts, HVAC Uncensored. Gil, thank you for being here. What a journey, my friend.
Yes, it has been. Thank you so much for having me, man. It was awesome to meet you in AHR, and I know we've been trying to make this happen for 5 months now.
You've had a lot going on. Your mom was in the hospital. You were grateful enough to share some of that on social and hopefully kicking the tires and running around, bossing you around and stuff. Yeah, we're here, man. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you, man. It's definitely awesome to be here.
Just real quickly, how's she doing?
She's doing good. So my mom has stage 4 lung cancer, which the doctors have said they're not treating her to cure her. They're treating her for quality of life. So we know that eventually it's going to be that time, sadly. Let's just speak frankly. But I hope that it's years from now. But you still have to deal with the chemotherapy and the sick and the ups and the downs, and then all the other things that chemo does to your body. So she's still here. It's kind of that roller coaster. And I just try to enjoy every day. I tell my kids, enjoy every day that she's here, because you never know which one's going to be the last. And sadly, that's kind of the reality we have to live in, you know?
Yeah, that's crazy. That's tough. I've only had to witness, well, my grandparents both had cancer of different varying, I guess, complexities. And when you're a little kid, grandfathers are just like these big Goliaths. He's this off the boat Italian guy. He'd run around his house. He'd rip his belt out of his pants and chase me around every time I did something wrong, that type of thing. And then, he got a prostate and then pancreatic cancer, and just day by day, just watched every muscle sort of deteriorate. And I remember it so vividly where it really hit me. And I was like middle school, I don't even know, whatever age you are, like 12, and he couldn't start a lawnmower anymore, right? You need the strength to do that. And he's just pulling and barely even getting the cord out of the engine. Man, that was real. So yeah, cancer sucks.
It doesn't discriminate either. I watched my dad go through it. 3 tours in Vietnam, and then to come back all those years later and die from a war that you left 50 years ago. So he got liver cancer from the Asian arm stuff in the Marine Corps. And my dad was a bigger man. All my grandparents died except for my one grandmother when I was relatively young. So I didn't have the luxury of being able to meet most of them. But my dad was always my hero. So kind of what you just said about your grandfather is how I felt about my dad. He was always a big, strong man, and I watched him wither away to nothing, where I could carry him like a baby in the end. I just try to look at everything, life, things like that. I try to look at it from a positive outlook, because life is hard enough. And I feel like if we just sit there and beat our minds up, we're making something that's already hard so much harder. Sometimes they're easier than others. Don't get me wrong. I'm not sitting here and acting like, I'm kumbaya all the time, but I feel like that mindset just helps us,
Let's liven up this podcast and stop talking about cancer and death. I really wanted to have Gil on. I was watching some of his podcasts. I got into it late last year, and then, like you said, met at AHR and just got to hear a little of his story. And I think this is the story that, like some of the other guests on here, we want to talk about Gil's journey. Where did you start in HVAC?
So I am a second generation. My dad did heating and air conditioning. He learned in the Marine Corps. My dad didn't take the traditional route of doing like stuff for homeowners. He was taking care of a restaurant chain. I started to go work for him, which was doing refrigeration, commercial air conditioning, kitchen equipment, electrical, plumbing. I mean, I learned a little bit of everything. It was definitely a good foundation for my career, because I got to learn mechanical things in general. But then eventually I was like, all right, well, I want to leave and I don't want to work for dad anymore. And it was hard. So I stayed in the refrigeration. I did that for several years after I left him. Commercial refrigeration is rough. I did like the rack systems for supermarkets. I did the convenience store side as well. But on call when you're doing that sucks. When a Costco or a Walmart calls you 2 o'clock in the morning, it's not, hey, I'll see you at 8 a.m. It's like, no, no, no. I don't care if I'm a state away. I'll see you in an hour. But I stayed doing that for a while. And eventually I just backed my way into residential. And I was always a good communicator. And then I just started to thrive, ended up being good at sales and being able to do sales the right way where I wasn't. I feel like today is not to get off track is, hey, look over here while I steal your wallet. I never had to lie to people. It made me feel good that I could generate revenue at the same time helping as many people as I possibly could. And that is what drove me into the management side. Just kept going to now be the general manager of Beltway, which is amazing. I get to work with one of my best friends, Ryan, who's the owner. It's awesome. We've created a place that is, if I was starting over as a tech, I would give my right arm to be able to work here. And that's what we thrive to do. When we first met, we wanted to create a place that we would want to work for as technicians. Still a lot to do, but I think we've done a pretty good job as far as building a company the way we have as fast as we have.
When did you get to Beltway? I know you started as an apprentice, right?
Yeah. Well, I started as apprentice, not at Beltway. So I came to Beltway pretty much as the GM, as the guy who ran the company. Before here, I was at a company that I was at for 12 years. And there I started as I don't want to say I was a low level tech. I guess the only time I was really apprentice was with my dad. But I'll say this story out there if anybody listens. When I first left my dad, I would call my dad every single call that I went to. Hey, dad, I got this going on. What's wrong? My dad finally told me, he said, hey, son, are you going to give me half your paycheck at the end of the week? Ha, ha, ha. We laugh. And he said, you're never going to learn unless you figure it the F out. And he said, if you're okay at work, don't call me while you're working anymore. I'll talk to you later when you get off. And at the time, I had that OF moment, but it was the best thing he could have ever did because it made me stick my nose in the books and learn. And from that moment is when I truly became grateful for this industry, grateful for this trade. And from there, I never wanted there to be anything that happened that I didn't know about. That's when I started to excel at the last company. There is where I was a technician. I started doing some installs, some service, got into sales and able to rise up. But when I came to Beltway, I came here to run the company. Me and Ryan wanted to tag team. And what makes us an awesome team is my strengths are his weaknesses and vice versa. So there's not much that we can't do. I'm 41, Ryan's 29, but he's brilliant. He is very, very smart. I'm that mechanically inclined, common sense kind of person. He's got that book knowledge that I've just never had.
So that's quite an age disparity. Where did you two meet and how did you become such close friends?
To be honest, I didn't know Ryan before I came here. Ryan knew me because of the podcast that created an opportunity. And I give it to him because he had some cojones to reach out to me and be like, hey, I want you to come work for me. Because I could have been like, yeah, go screw yourself, buddy. Like, who are you? But I went and met with him. And the first time it was like, I don't know, man. Who is this guy? Like, I'm not sure what's going on. And then it just meeting after meeting. And he was like, hey, I feel like I know you because I've been watching you for years. And I know that me and you think alike. That's why I've watched you so much. And it's funny that he said that because when we started getting together and actually doing stuff, it felt like I've known him for years. Does that make sense? How you meet somebody, you feel like you've known them for years?
It's easy to do when you're watching you, for example. I feel like I know you probably a lot better than you know me.
And I love that because I try to be as genuine and as raw as possible. Like what you see is what you get. But yeah, and then our friendship just took off. And I've been here, 5 years? Now we're best friends. You know what I mean? My kids refer to him jokingly as Uncle Ryan, and his two small boys do the same to me, even though one can't talk. He knows that he can do what he does because I have the best interest at hand. I won't give details, but somebody passed away close in his family. He thanked me. He said, it feels good that I know that I can go take care of something and I don't have to blink an eye because I know that you're there taking care of things. He's like, and you have no idea how grateful I am for you. I said, yeah, vice versa. I know that I can go do the same thing. So that's why a lot of times we say partnership and we say my partner, but I'm fine being the general manager. I have investments and I own other things that I don't always need to be that guy. I just love being a part of this. It's been so rewarding.
Yeah. So just going back to that courtship, if you will, when Ryan was trying to woo you over, was it part of the carrot, if you will, some equity or that minority stake, or was that earned over time?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, there was definitely money involved. To be honest, it wasn't money. And I don't say this to sound, but I have done other things in my life that set me up financially to where I don't have to stress over that. And at the last place I was betting my future on promises, on handshakes. And it was just getting to where it was making my love for the trade was just starting to die. I love doing this. Even though my dad's not here, I've always wanted to make him proud. I want to give back to this trade. I want to make it better. And I felt like I was stuck in quicksand at the last company. And my listeners, my friends who know me said, you could see it, Gil. You may not have noticed, but we could watch your episodes and we could see it. The way you talked, your enthusiasm was gone. When me and Ryan met, to be honest, the financial part, I was good, but that was kind of the least out of all the things that made my decision. It was my passion coming back, me getting excited about what I do and why I do it. That somebody else wants to create a company the same way that I want to. It was almost kind of corny that he could say something and I could finish his sentence or vice versa. And I was like, man, and it got me excited because to be honest, when I first went to Beltway, the money was decent, but I took a pay cut and I've got that back tenfold now. When I first went to Beltway, it was like, I don't know if I made the right decision. You kind of question yourself. Now I thank God every day that I did that because I get to work around an amazing group of people. I always say what we're building there is bigger than any one of us.
Sounds to me like outsider looking in, the passion was restored, but it's hard to not guess or suggest that part of the passion was the building, right? Like you were getting in and as you said, you were taking a pay cut. So I'm guessing the operation was fairly bootstrapped, if you will, or not as high throttle as is now. Looking in it and seeing opportunity, right? We can grow this, we can build this, we can do this, we can do that. And that put some fire under your tail, I'm guessing. Is that wrong?
No, that's 100% right. Yeah, I loved it because, and I'm not speaking ill of the guy that I used to work for 12 years. I learned a bunch from that man. When I left him was kind of rough. He was very old school. And, I had a lot of the new school ideas like, hey, let's try this, let's do that. And he didn't want to hear it. It's funny now seeing him try some of the things that we do at Beltway. And it's like, well, you should have listened to me all those years ago. But it is what it is. No hard feelings. Business is business. The fact that I have a say in what happens and the way things are done and the fact that we bounce things off each other is absolutely amazing. And then having the podcast as a resource, like I get to talk to some of the smartest people in this industry on a weekly basis. I get to meet some of the amazing companies, the latest and greatest things that are out there, softwares, whatever it may be. We have all the resources and tools to make our company the best and have our technicians have the best resources to be able to do what we ask them to do. It's awesome. I love it. And I know it sounds corny, but that's why to me financially, don't get me wrong. I'm not going to sit here and act like I don't want to make money. Yeah, I want to make money. If it's up to me, I'll retire tomorrow. But I love the fact that I love what I do. And it's stressful. I told you earlier, today was a very, very stressful day, but there'll be 10 good days to make up for this stressful day. I'll forget that this day ever happened. I feel like so many people, especially in the HVAC trade, say, oh, this happened. We need to make this better. We need to make that better. Well, I'm trying to not talk about it. I'm trying to actually do things that propel our trade in the right direction, as well as a lot of my other friends who are influencers, whatever you want to call them, podcasters. And I feel like if we keep doing that, that's how we'll get to where we want to be, not sitting around crying about it.
Yeah, crying about it's not going to really do anything. So, as a resident change maker, what are the things that you're working on, whether it's day to day or let's say year over year, to make a change, whether it be macro, like industry wide, Beltway, or more granular at the employee level?
Going big and going down, I would say, is social media has helped, but one is letting technicians know that they have the power. We have a shortage of technicians. If they're working for some company that's not treating them right, not that I would ever advocate people hopping around. That's not what I'm trying to say. But if you work for a company that is not paying you well, does not have any kind of benefits, that doesn't care about you as a person, there are places out there now, they exist. There are companies out there that have good cultures that you can love going to work every day and get paid what you're worth. And I think social media and some of these things are showing it more and more that you're seeing it. Not just the owners, you're seeing the employees like, oh, I love this place. Any of our team could be out there and some service manager from another company could pull up at a gas station and be like, hey, I'll give you $5 more an hour to leave. I know that my guys would say, have a good day. I know they're not going anywhere. Those kind of things. And the whole like trade school, the training, women coming into the trade. As far as kids, not saying college is a bad thing, but I got 25-year-old kids working for me that make $100,000+ a year. The trades are a good avenue to be successful, and you can have a damn good life in the trades. So getting that message out there, we still have a long way to go. Don't get me wrong. And then also it being rewarding, like, my buddy Ben Poole, who did the HVAC Tactical Awards, which is only in the beginning stages. It's only going to get bigger to try to give back to the trade. We built this country. Everything that we see and do wouldn't be there without some member of the trades. We need to hold ourselves in that regard, like lawyers and doctors, because if we were to go away, the world would stop moving. That's how important we are. And that's kind of getting a little dramatic, but it's serious.
Essential worker, right? That's all you need to say.
Yeah. And then a company level, it was to build a place that I always said I wanted to build like an all-star team. I wanted to build a group of amazing technicians, of people that get paid what they're worth. And we have fun going to work every day, that I understand their why. They're a name. They're not a number. Some people listening to this may have done that. You work for a place and, you call the HR department and it's, hey, you may know the person. They're like, hey, Mindy, it's Gil. Hey, Gil, what's your employee identification number? It's Gil, you know me. Yeah, I know, but what's your employee identification number? We don't have that here. You go by your first name. That's the way you're treated. Our people come first. It doesn't have to be that, work them in the ground. Oh, you don't like it my way or the highway kind of deal. I think we have more people than any company I've ever been a part of that make $35, $40+ an hour. So just those little things. And all that comes to putting the systems and the processes in place to make things repeatable. That kind of that McDonald's effect. So that we're providing the same level of service to every customer that we go to, so we don't leave something to chance. If you have something that's repeatable and you can do it every time, you can start to control the outcome. And it's easier to predict what numbers are going to be, what revenue is going to be, reviews, all that kind of stuff. And you're not willy-nilly as far as I'm going to do it this way today and this way tomorrow. And at the end of the week, you're kind of plowing through the crap trying to find the pearl. We don't do it that way. We have systems that we not reinvent the wheel, do the system that we know, that we've taught them. And if you're consistently doing it every single time, we know that the end result will be positive.
Every story I hear of someone succeeding in home services and in the trades talks about, and you can't do it without building a strong culture, a strong team, and a place that people want to be at. Your gas station example speaks volumes for the place that you're part of and the place that you're building. Honestly, that's probably, if we were to go out and do a survey, maybe this is the next Facebook survey, what would you kill for? Number one thing you'd kill for in your business, let's just make it up, more leads, higher revenue, or a culture that nobody's going to leave. And I'll bet you number 3 is probably going to take the cake, because number 3, if you build that culture, then like you said, everything else follows. It strengthens your pipeline. It takes out that uncertainty, et cetera, et cetera. So going back to where you started with Beltway and where you are today, has talking about your minority ownership, because that's what you are technically behind the scenes, even though you're the GM and you still have a boss, right? As you said, you like to call him your boss. And that's totally cool. Was that A1? Has it been the same percentage as today, or has it increased over time?
No, it didn't. And to be honest, the reason, like I said before, is I'm blessed that the podcast does very well. I have other investments. I have an investment firm with my brother, which is, worth millions of dollars. I don't have to work for Beltway if I don't want to. I don't say that to sound conceited. I'm just saying the truth. Ryan is younger than me, and this is his legacy for his family. I have no desire to take that from him. And I trust him 100%. And I know that if we take this thing to where we're planning to, I know that I will reap the benefits, because the fact that there is that age disparity, I don't want to wait till I'm 70 to retire. I don't want to have 10 good years. I want to retire in 10 years from now and have 30 years to be able to relax. So that's why it's not crazy important to me. Obviously, the company was founded and started before I was ever a part of it. Ryan put in that work, not me. I helped him put in the work to get it from there to here, but he put in the groundwork and he deserves that fully. I've never wanted to beat him against the wall, being like, I demand this. I want this. For the longest time, the salary that he was giving me, I was probably taking home more money than he was. He's very unselfish. He could take way more from that company than he does, and he does not. He just recently bought a new truck and he wasn't going to. He bought a 2024 Tundra. Beautiful truck. What are those things, like 80, 90 grand or something like that? And
easily these days, probably six figures, to be honest with you.
yeah. And he wasn't going to. He's like, yeah, I just feel bad. And I said, why? I said, do not feel bad. I said, you are the owner of this company. You deserve that truck. I had to give him a little pep talk. And thank God he came back the next day with the truck. And I was happy for him. So that's why I don't really get caught up into it. I don't want to say this to people. I do think that people should chase owning something. It is the American dream, and you do get benefits. And if I didn't have other things, then maybe I would be a little bit more inept. Like, hey, I need this. I need to have that. I've been fortunate that after beginning of my life being kind of a POS, and I won't go into that part of my story. Long story short, coming out of the Marine Corps, being a drug addict, to never thinking I was going to have a thing in life, to being able to be financially free and take care of my wife, my 4 kids. I've just became very grateful that I don't sweat the small things like somebody else would, if that makes sense.
That's function of change, hard work, maybe a little serendipity, the right things happening at the right time. But as I always say, you've got to seize the moments when they're put in front of you. It's not just a walk in the park and smelling the flowers. At some point, you got to take things by the neck and kind of go for it. It's all you, it's all him, and deserve everything that's coming to you, the good and the bad. Right?
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. So what do they say? That failure is the stepping stones to success. That's the truth. You're never going to get anything in life without risking something. If you play it safe, then that's exactly how you're going to live your life. What I tell people is when you think of someone with an addiction or an addict, they'll do anything to get said whatever they're going for. And I was like, man, if you took that kind of work ethic and put it towards something that you actually want in life, imagine how far you could go. That's how I started getting, like, if I want something, I'll get it. You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to work till I get it. And I don't care what anybody says. It's kind of that old school mentality, not the new generation. Like, oh, I'm 18. I want to be a YouTube star and a millionaire. I want to be the CEO. We're not accepting applications for the CEO there, Slick.
We're accepting applications for the apprentice that gets paid $7 an hour. Right?
Yeah.
Time to go up in the attic and sweat your ass off and learn how to do this stuff the right way.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, totally. And I was thinking about it today. I had to take my daughter to a soccer game like an hour away on a weeknight, right? That was not fun. On the way back or something, it was out kind of in a rural area, and I was just kind of gazing into the distance. And this is how like sort of schizophrenic I am about this stuff sometimes, where I was looking out at like just like a pasture horses farm. They were growing something. I couldn't tell because it was just seedlings. And I was like, I could probably do that. There'd be some therapy in that, just busting your tail every single day, go out into the field, planting, harvesting, cleaning up shit, literally. I could do that. I don't know if I could do that forever, but I could see myself doing that. I think there's a lot of us out there that they're just groomed to kind of roll up their sleeves and get in there and get dirty. It doesn't matter what it is. Some of the people that are willing to do that will rise up and figure out how to make, like you said, make a good life out of it. And, not everybody is that fortunate, but you've got to be willing to roll up your sleeves, right?
I heard somebody say something similar on Instagram, but I went to give an estimate at a really, really high-end private club, like golf resort kind of deal. I've been able to meet some very successful people, but this is the first time that I've been around, people that are billionaires that have like FU money, being able to talk to them and listen to them. And there was a group of them at a table, and he said, oh, that's a special group. And I was like, oh, that's cool. I was like, how you get into that group? And he was like, to be honest, it's funny you ask. He said, they'll only let people in their group if you've lost everything and built it back up.
I definitely don't have those kind of cojones.
Yeah, no, me neither. But just hearing those kind of people talk, they've all been sued, they've all been divorced. And, they're like, if you can make it through those things, that's what gets you hardened. You're going to be okay. You know what I mean? And that's how you get to the top. You got to deal with those punches in the face, those batters and bruises until you get there. I don't think I have enough time to be a billionaire, but I'll keep trying. I just kept my mouth shut and just wanted to sit there and ask them questions forever.
All those little things that do kind of nip away at you or chip away at you and try and break you down. Ultimately, those, like you said before, those are the failures. Those are the things that really test your strength. People that succeed in life are the ones that figure out how to persevere through that adversity. So it takes a special person, especially a special person, to lose everything.
I hope that doesn't happen. I pray to God that doesn't happen.
Just a quick segue here. So if you were looking back and moving forward and going forward, someone from the podcast comes to you and say, hey, Gil, I got this great opportunity. I've got a chance to become a minority owner in a shop, become GM. But like you said, I'm going to take a huge pay cut. Got to put food on the table. I've got kids. I've got a mortgage, whatever. What would you suggest to them? How do you justify that? For every success, there's hundreds and hundreds of failures, right? You were a fortunate one. You figured it out. You figured out how to turn it into a success, but it easily could have gone the other way, right? So if this young kid's coming in and asking you for advice on this, what do you say?
So to be honest, first, I would get down to the nitty gritty and ask them some hard questions. I would ask them, are you married? Do you have kids? What's your relationship like? Do you have money in the bank? Do you have some money saved up?
This is asking the owner that's trying to bring you in, correct?
No. My fault. I thought if somebody like if a young guy came to me saying he had like an opportunity like mine, should he take it or not?
Yeah. What would you suggest to him? How should he navigate those waters and come to it, whatever decision's right for him?
Yeah, I would ask him those questions.
Gotcha.
Like, hey, okay, the opportunity, you're going to make a little less money. Can you afford to do that? I mean, are you going to get divorced if you do that? Is your wife going to be like, what the hell are you doing? Why did you take less money? Do you have the support to make that decision? You may be the one making it, but it's not just affecting you. I made that decision affecting my family. The other thing is, I would tell them, are you truly unhappy where you are? And there is no way for you to excel or reach your goals where you are? And if they say no, then I would say, if you have the financial means to be able to take that I would do it. I would ask the person that you're going to go to give you an offer letter. Every promise that they're making you, put it in writing, put it on paper. Because if it's not on paper, it doesn't exist. Once you see it all in black and white, if you can look at that and feel not 100% comfortable, because it has to be a risk, but if you feel good in your heart, I think I can make this work, then do it. And if you don't, then don't do it. Because I'll be honest, if I didn't have those other things to fall back on, I don't know if I would have done this. It could have changed my decision. I don't want to sit here and lie like, oh, I would have went to Beltway regardless. I don't know that. I knew that it was either stay where I am and eventually be out of this industry completely, which I didn't want to happen. This industry means the world to me. It's my childhood. It's my father. Or stay where I am, hope and pray something changes, or probably not. I'm going to fizzle out of the industry, or take this risk, make a little bit less money with the possibility to make more than I ever did here. And I took it, and it was scary. And like I said, for the first year and a half, I thought to myself, what the hell did I do? Sadly, I would probably push somebody to take the decision. But if I was going to tell somebody, I think you should do it, I would almost research it for them, just because I want to make sure that I'm giving sound advice. I would do the pros and cons for the person and be like, hey, I can't make this decision for you, but I thank God every day that I did what I did. You take that wherever you see fit, and you make whatever decision is best for you and your family.
So on Gil's next podcast, he's going to have a little segment called Ask Gil Anything.
They do anyway, whether I let them or not.
Here's your opportunity, guys. So you kind of touched on it, but I'll ask it more formally. Similar question. If you were to go back in time through the deal specifically with Ryan, would you do anything differently? Would you have asked for anything differently? Would you have structured it any differently? Anything different than knowing what you know now?
Yeah, I mean, I probably would have restructured it. I would have crossed a few more T's and dotted a few more I's.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that. It's in the interest of this topic and the people listening. Just take it as, this is an opportunity to be suggestive and give people the chance to learn from. It's not a mistake, but if you were going into it, what would you have done differently? What would you have structured differently? What I's would you dotted differently and T's would you have crossed? I don't think that's a referendum on Ryan or you in any way, shape, or form by,
Oh, no,
saying that.
no, no, no. And I know Ryan doesn't care. We can sit back and laugh, to be honest with you. But
First, we would have to get Ryan to listen to this. So let's be honest.
yeah, you never know. But I think that I would have asked for more. The fact that me and him made the connection we did and the excitement came that I settled. I think it worked out for me, but I think if I had to do it again, I would have at least tried to push like, oh, you're offering this. And these aren't the numbers, but I'm just throwing it out there. Like, okay, you're offering me 150,000 a year. I need 180. You know what I mean? Just try to see if there's a little bit, maybe you don't get anything, but you just try to negotiate and then try to say, okay, if I come over and we get to this revenue within a year, what happens? When we get to this revenue, what happens? How big would you like to make this company? That's a big question people don't ask because some people it's, hey, I'd love to have 10 trucks on the road. Some people's idea of their dream company is, I want to be 100 trucks. I want to be a $50 million company. We had the same vision as far as what we wanted to build, but maybe I wouldn't say till after I accepted it, we knew how far our vision wanted to go. So I think if I would have got some more of those things down before I accepted this, maybe some of his answers would have been way different than mine. And I'd have been like, what did I do? Like, man, maybe this wasn't the best decision. I would have tried to ask more questions to find out about what the plan was. I didn't ask as many questions as people thought that I would have. My frustration with the other place made me take a lot more concessions that I probably shouldn't have. Like I said, I've gotten them back tenfold now, but it could have easily went the other way. I put a lot of faith in something I did not know.
I think that this is something that you can probably speak to, and I don't want to put words into your mouth, but this was your first deal.
In the trades, for sure.
Yeah. You know, people get involved in those. And I mean, again, this is hindsight's 2020. I'm guessing if we're going back and looking at little junior Gil back then, you probably didn't have a lot of confidence and you didn't feel like you had a leg to stand on. And, this was a great opportunity and you were excited and you didn't want to blow up the deal, right? Like you were happy to take whatever he was offering and just be excited about something, right? So like,
Amen.
yeah, right. And this happens all the time. Well, you go from one suddenly, again, using your numbers, being offered 150 and then asking for 180. And all of a sudden he says, screw you, you're a greedy, MFer. I don't want to do business with you. And then you're SOL and you have nothing. Right. And just to be clear, I'm not some expert on this by any stretch. Emotionally, I get it. And it is hard. And I think what you're saying and what you were alluding to is you have to really, number one, understand your value, not necessarily your dollar. What is your value that you're bringing to the table, and be confident in your value and your approach and that you can bring something to the table, right? You knew a lot more than he did in terms of, to be a GM, to how to run a shop, how to relate to the guys. He's the finance guy. He's the back office guy, right? So all of these things were extremely valuable to him. He's probably like, I don't really know how to improve the culture. I don't really know how to win installers, build teams, et cetera, et cetera. And the other side of it is, I'm probably guessing too, he was probably just as afraid to lose you as you were to him, right? It's super challenging to be in these situations. The best thing that you can do is what you said, which is literally, how do you feel about this? Does this feel right? Does this number feel right? Does this deal feel right? Does the culture feel right? And, kind of just going for it.
Don't ever think that it's going to feel 100%. Like it's going to be a no-brainer, because if you're waiting for that, then you're going to let some amazing opportunities pass you by. This is one of the greatest moves I've ever made, but it's also one of the scariest. So let me just put that in anybody listening to this. Yes, it worked. Like Zach said before, there's a lot of times that this doesn't work, and you need to have in your mind, I'm going to make this risk because I believe in it. I know my value. I'm going to give this everything that I have. But if it doesn't work, at least I know that I tried something along those kind of things, because I don't want somebody out there to risk it and then maybe it doesn't, God forbid it doesn't work, because this could have very well not worked and I'd had to go something else. But none of those things are going to come along and you're going to be like, oh man, it's like winning the lottery. Like, oh man,
Right.
this is amazing. This guy's
Right.
offering me 3 times what I make now, a brand new truck, a new house. Like, that's not going to happen. Let's
Right.
just be realistic. There's got to be a little bit of risk on both parties, or the deal is never going to happen in the first place. We're just dreaming.
Right. If it's too good to be true, it probably is too good to
Yep,
be true.
it is.
And I think the last thing on this too, and in addition to trusting your gut and looking forward, it is going to feel uncomfortable because it is scary. There is going to be risk. And if there were guarantees, then there probably isn't the upside, right? The guarantees are not that there's anything wrong with this or bad about this. The guarantees are being a W-2, right? Like that's a guarantee, right? Plus or minus, right? You're going to a job, you're getting a paycheck, you got to do something, and you get paid $1,000 a week or whatever you're getting paid. And that's the safe bet. That's the guarantee. And anything beyond that is going to be uncomfortable and is going to be scary. And that's what helps you put your feet on the floor every morning. This is kind of a dumb one for you because it's like go anywhere and find Gil on HVAC Uncensored / HV Uncensored pretty much everywhere, every
Yeah.
platform. What is your preferred? I feel like you're all over the place, but if you had to get rid of all of them except for one, what would it be? Social media.
I would probably get rid of all of them and keep Instagram. I really like that platform. I would say YouTube is a close second. I kind of grew myself on Facebook with my group. I built it up to 100,000+, got shut down, built it back up to 50,000+, which is a whole podcast in itself. But how I said that I like to just give off positivity, I just feel like Facebook and some of those has kind of turned into just negative, putting everybody down. And I don't like to surround myself with that. I think the Instagram community, you still have your naysayers, you still have those people anywhere. It's just an awesome group of people that I think it's more positive, helping each other. YouTube is there. I would say that if they told me, hey, if you could have 1 million followers on any one of these, but you could never grow the other ones, it would be Instagram all day, every day.
That's interesting. Mine would be a toss up between probably Twitter and TikTok. I'm starting to get into Instagram. I finally just created my own local handle, local Zach. That's kind of helped things just in terms of communicating and sort of getting it into it. I just looked the other day. I've been on Twitter since like 2007 or something like that. I'm kind of being forced into being a video guy. I'm kind of a long form text guy, long form writing guy, I guess is what I should say. And then TikTok is just social media on cracks. That would be like the most unhealthy thing in the world if that's all I could have.
I never got into Twitter, X, or whatever it's called now. I don't even have an account, to be honest.
Yeah, it's really in the last like 3 or 4 months, there's been a couple of guys that have come over and started really building more broader home services, but roofing HVAC community. And so it's gotten pretty cool. It's very different. Instagram is very, I don't know, it's just visual, right? I mean, that's what it was built on. And Twitter still has this like education element and experience and sharing and knowledge element to learning and sharing your knowledge and building community that way versus Instagram. It's video and visual. It's just two totally different mediums. I feel like I'm an old timer talking about the transition between like Morse code and like the telephone. It's like,
yeah.
I mean,
well, that's how I always thought TikTok was. Like, I am on TikTok, and now that you can share like across, download the video and share it to a couple of different platforms, but I've just always thought that TikTok was the younger crowd. So, which I do like, because then I can reach some of the younger crowd as far as getting into the trades. Even my oldest son, he was like, I'd take TikTok all day over Instagram. I think about that, but me personally, I guess a 40, close to middle-aged man would think Instagram is what I would enjoy. But I start to think of them from a business standpoint, from a podcast, who can I reach kind of point. So let's hope that they don't ban TikTok and shut it down.
Well, you're all on Instagram and YouTube, so who cares for you?
True. I'll be okay.
Your children might go through some withdrawal, but honestly, that's probably the healthiest thing out there. Well, awesome, man. Again, everybody, find Gil at HVA Censor / HVA Uncensored everywhere. Gil has a Back to Weekly podcast talking to everyone and anyone. And then Beltway Air is in the Baltimore area. And what is the URL for Beltway?
So if
Beltway.
you just search, beltwayhvac.com, our website goes to everything. Beltway Air Conditioning Heating. We just opened a plumbing department.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So,
wow. That's
yes,
crazy.
slowly growing. It's been an amazing ride.
Yeah, that's a whole nother podcast in itself. Thanks, Gil. I'm glad we were finally able to make it happen. Everybody go get them. Have a good one.
Yep. Thank you.